You guys ready?
Yeah.
Okay, let's dive in. You ready? You tell me when, Byron.
Go ahead.
Good? All right. My name is Sheila Orsi. I am the chair currently of the Downtown Development Committee. Downtown Development Committee was formed back in October of 2018. Our job is to help promote business and pretty much like help to recondition anything that we need in the downtown area. We are really excited to work with all kinds of state boards, all your committees, and any departments that are in town. We especially like to work with the planning board and make sure that bylaws are being adhered to, and that if anything needs to change to help bring in more business, we are really excited to do that. We also want to help to make the downtown area a really pedestrian-friendly place. And we know that there's a lot of things that are happening downtown, and we want to make sure that it's going to be a place where people love to go and visit and enjoy. So with that being said, the reason for this meeting is Jim Buzzell was sweet enough to ask me to do, or I should say the Downtown Development Committee, to do a presentation like this on some amazing reports that we just had last year that came through our town. So there were two really heavy reports. One of them is called a T.A.R.P, and the other one is called the LRRP. So with that, we created the T.A.R.P, which covers everything, right? So this is just something to talk about the technical assistance report presentation, because we got two really great technical assistant presentations that were done for us last year. So what is T.A.R.P? They are these two exclusive reports that were made just for us here in North Brookfield. The T.A.R.P is from 2021, just last year. It was created, I'm going to read this because I can't remember all of this in my head. It was created by the, I'm going to go this way, and then I'm going to go back the other way. It was created by the Urban Land Institute and also Mass Development. It was amazing. It was very extensive. It was 3 days. We had a whole bunch of people that came into town from these different facilities, and they actually did a walking tour with us from the police station all the way down in front of the Congo Church. We walked down in front of the Adams Block and all the way down Main Street. We turned, oh God help me, is it Maple Street? I think it's Maple Street, or beyond that where Sandy's barbershop is. I'm horrible with that on the street name.
Central Street.
Central Street. We turned down Central Street. We walked all the way down there. And we went back to the police station. In between that, we stopped and we went inside of the townhouse, and they got to tour the entire inside of the townhouse. Bill King was on that tour with us. Jim was on that tour with us. A lot of our friends of the townhouse people were on that tour with us. If you were on the tour, raise your hand. Who was on that tour with us? Quite a few people. Was it not really cool? That was awesome. They took pictures. They got tons of information from that. Then they also had a giant, like, online. Usually it's a meeting that they have a bunch of people come in and they sit down. But because of COVID, they did it all online, and they found a lot of people in town who were, oh, what's the word I want to say? Not just constituents, but just very heavily involved in town, but weren't people that were on committees, so that they could kind of pit information against them and say, hey, what's really happening in town? What are you guys really looking for? And they took a good couple of hours with those people and worked with them to find out information about our town. And then they went off by themselves on the third day, and they created our plan, talked about North Brookfield. So it's nice to have somebody who doesn't live here, kind of outside of the area, to say, hey, what's really going on there? So that's what the T.A.R.P is. It was really focused on the townhouse. There were three major points that happened during that. One was planning, and the question that was pointed to them was, how can the townhouse's current space be configured to meet the programming of the Friends of the Townhouse plans to turn the building into an anchor institute and shape the arts and cultural programming to attract people to Main Street? We have an answer for you, okay? Number two, the community design. So how can the town establish more control over design of new construction and preserve the town's character that's responsive to the shared downtown vision? So with that being said, we are looking for a unification to all be on the same plane, so that we're all going for the same goal, because things get done that way. If not, then everything kind of is all over the place. And we have an answer for you on that one. And number 3 is town governance and capacity. How can the town work towards building capacity to advance economic development and initiatives over the main street? So the link to the TAP is at the bottom of this. We'll put these slides up afterwards too, so that if anybody ever needs to get to them, you can. Second half of this is going to be the LRRP. So Ethan's going to take over that piece, and he might be way more versed than I am, just so you know. So if I do anything wrong in the TAP, anybody from Friends, you're welcome to chime in for me. The LRRP is a local rapid response program, and that was created by the Agency Landscape and Planning. We actually got an amazing grant in for both of these that were able to do these plans for us. That one focuses on 4 aspects of North Brookfield: the physical environment, including traffic, roads, sidewalks, signage, lighting, building assessments. Customer base, including demographics and the downtown customer. Business environment, including current vacancies and types of businesses in the downtown area. And administrative capacity, including volunteer committees and current government administration. What does all this mean for you guys? Let me go back a couple, if I can figure this out for a second. So, what we want to do is we want to create a unified plan in North Brookfield. So although I'm talking about a bunch of stuff in these reports that came in that kind of focus on the downtown area, you guys need a buy-in, and the reason why you're here is because you're all dedicated people and you have a reason to make things better in North Brookfield. Whether your town or your department has a project, has information that you're working on, there's something in these reports that's going to help out your department or your committee. So be aware this is not just about the downtown area, this is about North Brookfield as a whole. There are tons of grant opportunities in here for you. These reports, the information that's in here can be used for yourself and your different committees to be able to beef up your grants if you're looking for some funds to be able to utilize in your projects that you're working on. And we're going to show them all to you. I'll show you where they are. I'll show you where you can get to them. Ethan right now is passing out a little worksheet. Whether you fill it out or not is up to you. But we do want you to take notes. If something comes in your head and you're like, oh my God, signage, that would work perfectly in the playground committee area, right? Like we could use a grant for that because we need signs down there that are going to point to us. I know one of the things that we are really excited about is that the trail system, the rail trail is done, and as the Downtown Development Committee, we are trying to create a walkable trail map so that you can see the other 5 trails that connect from the center of town all the way out to all these other places. So that signage would be great for something like that, so people know where to go, have maps available. Tons and tons of information. So this is going to be interactive. At some point, we are going to stop, and I want a little bit of talking. So what we're going to try to do is make this about 12 minutes or so to talk about TAP, 10 minutes or so to talk about some of the stuff you've written down or what your thoughts are. 12 minutes or so, might go a little bit longer for the LRRP, it's a longer report. And then another like 10 minutes or so to be able to do that. And then at the end, I'm hoping we kind of get some combination of these groups so that we can kind of bring this all together and be like, hey, you know what? Your group overlaps that information. Like you guys should collaborate a little bit to make sure that that works. And hopefully that's going to be how this works today. We've never done this before, so we're all kind of winging it together. So hopefully that's how that works. I just want to go back and first say thank you very much to the Eden Lodge and all the Masons. Thank you guys very much. So thank you guys so much. Thank you. We really appreciate it. And I also want to say thank you to Jim for getting us going and giving us some get up and go to get this done today, and for all my friends in the Townhouse and DDC people that we've all been able to put this together. So thank you guys too. Give yourselves a round of applause for that. So let's talk about the TAP. I'm going to buzz out of this for 1 second, and I have it up. Just so you guys are aware, Downtown Development Committee, It is available online. We have a ton of information. This is where you're gonna get all this information I'm talking about today. So if you go, I've tried to do this on my phone and it doesn't seem to be very mobile friendly, but on your computer on the website, if you hover over government and then you hover down to Downtown Development Committee, you will come up to our page. On the left-hand side, there is all of this information. There's tons of information. Please use it. We have really worked very, very hard to come up with plans, and now we're at implementation stage. So we're working towards implementing all the stuff that we've brought about. So the LRRP final report that Ethan's going to talk about is in here. We've been working really hard on complete streets, which is another process, but we don't have to get into that too much today. And the T.A.R.P final is right down here. North Brookfield Downtown Development Strategic Plan is here. We do have to update it. It's been since 2019. We got to talk about that this year and get some stuff updated. But that is where you're going to find everything. So with that being said, the North Brookfield T.A.R.P was done last year in June. And I don't want to bore you guys too much, but we had a phenomenal panel. I talked a little bit about the process. We had the briefing meeting. There was the site visit and the stakeholder interviews. Was that stuff that we did online? It was phenomenal. So we addressed a bunch of questions, and the study area was the whole downtown area and what was going to be happening down there. Those 3 questions were planning. We were working on the current downtown space, the community design, and town governance. So just to kind of walk you guys through this really quickly, there are a lot of assets and opportunities down in our downtown area. We've got our library, our churches. There's a lot of history down there. Vibram's down there, that's really, really big. And we've been working specifically on complete streets, which is bringing us some new sidewalks into downtown. So at this point for us, it's a 3-phase process. Hopefully phase 1 is actually going to get broken. We got $400,000 grant in, which we're really, really excited about, to create some new sidewalk area and make it a little bit more pedestrian friendly down there, and make it so that it's a lot more walkable. So recommendations for planning, just so you guys know, many people are not aware. My friends, the Townhouse people, they work their patuka off to try to get this Townhouse open. If anybody feels the urgency, anybody who's listening to this afterward, and you want to help us, we need volunteers. We need manpower. We can go get grants all day long and try our hardest to do that, but we need manpower to help us with this. So please come to our meetings. Everybody's welcome. They're open meetings. We are happy to have volunteers to help. So one of the things that they did was they said it would be really nice if, I don't know if you guys can kind of see this, but if we had some, like a system in front of there. We want to make it ADA compliant so that people can kind of come up to get into that front building. We're working on the sidewalks with complete streets to be able to make it so that it's accessible and we don't have these big divots and stuff and big stairs for people to go up and down. And I think Notter's here. I don't want to point you out too bad, Notter, but Notter's phenomenal. He's been working with us too. He owns the Adams block, just redid it all. It's so beautiful. I don't know if you've noticed how lovely he's helped to make our downtown area. It's just lovely. And we've talked to Notter too about the possibility of adding on like the same type of porch area so that they match, hopefully. And also the possibility of, we would love to get a restaurant in. Again, if anybody knows anybody. We would love to get a restaurant in that building. So it's right next door to the Townhouse. We're gonna bring some people in. We're gonna get some excitement going on downtown. We're gonna get that Townhouse open. We're gonna have some really vibrant stuff that's happening in there. Can you imagine sitting out on that porch, having your martini, listening to either music pouring out or you're going to a play in a little bit? What a lovely thing to think about in our town. Is that not just lovely, right? So working hard to make this happen, and we need people to do that. So this is kind of looking down from the top of an idea of what we could do in the front of the Townhouse. And there's a lot of recommendations and plans on things that could happen in the Townhouse. And this was all developed by ULI. And we were so excited that they created all of this for us. So why am I telling you guys this? Because it's the townhouse and maybe that doesn't hit your specific area. Well, inside of this, at the end, there is, again, a whole link to a bunch of grants opportunities that are available to us. And I know I keep saying the word grant, 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 but one of the things that happens, especially in North Brookfield, and the Finance Committee will tell you, we never have money, right? And we need money to make these things work. So one of the things that's going to help to impassion a lot of these places that have these grants is our unified vision to make this all happen. And if we're all on the same page and we're all just as passionate, they're going to give us money. They have the money out there. Let's go get it. And why not North Brookfield? Somebody else is going to get it if we don't get it. So let's go get it and let's make the town amazing. So just to kind of walk you guys through this, this was something else that they had talked about. We talked about the new gas station that was going in as they did their walkthrough. And just a visual appeal of how that might look if we put some trees in front of there to cover up the canopy just a little bit. Just to make it seem more inviting, but we still have those amenities and those services for our town folks. Some of the other recommendations that they had for us was bringing the rail trail around, different spaces for proposed parking lots. This is one of the other big issues that we have in town right now is where do you park when you go to these things, right? So, and everybody complains about parking in the downtown area. We've got this great lot that's right next door to the police station. Can't dig down, can't build on it. For a while it's a brownfield. So what can we do to make that useful? Can we use it as a parking lot? Can we use it for something green? Can we work on some kind of solar thing that happens there? Maybe people could plug in electrical vehicles if there was a way to do that without digging. Lots of options for us to be thinking about on how we can utilize our downtown area to make it user-friendly. With that being said, I'm just gonna kind of shove through here just to kind of just show you guys the slides. I don't want to bore you to death. Community design. Community design is about placemaking and different spaces that we can create in North Brookfield, not only for the people who live here, but also to be able to bring people into these businesses as well. Or, I mean, how many houses and lots do we have that are for sale? Actually, not many right now because the housing industry is insane, but I mean, with that being said, who do we want to get to come to North Brookfield? Eventually that housing market's going to turn around. You know, do we want, oh, hello there. Do we want houses for senior citizens? Because we've got a boom of people that are in that realm and they want to spend some money here in North Brookfield and they want to live in this beautiful town and they want to be able to walk those trails. Is it more towards the millennials that are going to be growing up and they've got family and friends and they want to be able to make this, you know, raise their kids in a small town community, but still have big city amenities? Because a lot of those kids, they want that. They want nice houses, they want nice cars, they want everything done, right? And I'm not trying to be stereotypical. What I'm talking about is what's the demographic? Who are we looking for to be able to bring into town and have them be a part of where we're at? So all of those different things are in here. Town governance. One of the things that's in both of our reports is town governance. And we've got a great system so far. We've got our Board of Selectmen, we've got all these different committees. One of the things that they've been finding is that there is a lot of empowered, awesome volunteers in this town. What happens is most of our projects either overlap or town governance comes in and just kind of does whatever they need to do without actually discussing everything with all these different committees, or they know and we don't know. Like one hand isn't feeding the other properly. So one of the things that both of our projects have recommended is a town manager. What happens with a town manager? It's expensive. If we can find a town managers cost $100,000 to $125,000 usually is what their budget is. We don't even have that to pay for half the stuff we want to pay for in our town. There are grants out there that will cover a town manager for like 3 years, and then we have to figure it out from there. If we could find a town manager, and if it worked in our town, we could utilize that person to be our grant writer for us and make them pay for their own, budget, their own salary. That I mean, it would cover so much stuff in our town if that person worked to do the things that we need them to do to be able to get this stuff done. So that's a really big piece. A lot of other towns have town managers. Some of them work well, some of them don't work well. Maybe I'm using the wrong verbiage. That could be a thing too. So, but just to have one person that can report to the BOS, report to, you know, be able to come to these different committees, or for them to be keeping track of what's happening with all of us, so that we're all under the same umbrella and we keep that vision the same. It's only going to make North Brookfield even better and just move us forward in all of these things that we're working on. I am sure I'm hitting my 10 minutes here. So that is the TAP in a nutshell. So thank you very much on that. So what I want to utilize the TAP for, and you guys all have your little worksheets and stuff, is there anything in there that you guys saw? I know we just kind of went through these really quickly, that spurred your imagination. You're like, oh my God, that would be great. Oh, I would love to have this. Anybody want to just kind of throw some ideas that they had in their head out here?
I had a question.
Tashina.
Does the downtown, does this include the common area or no?
The TAP did not include the common area. The LRRP definitely does include the common area.
Okay.
And beyond, actually. It's more comprehensive than the TAP is. The TAP was really focused on the townhouse and how when we can bring that townhouse back up and get it open to what we need it to be and get the programming in there that's going to bring people in town and get people in town already excited about what's going on with that, that is what's going to spur the rest of the kind of economy in the downtown area. Or at least definitely help us. I mean, can you imagine that we've got a play maybe every other week? And let me go this way, because you guys, I mean, we've been doing this a while. One of the creative things I thought of that would be awesome is we get that townhouse reopened and we create plays that don't happen in any other town. Act 1 starts at the Common and everybody's outside and they do Act 1 there, and part of the play is to walk you to the townhouse, and Act 2 happens inside the townhouse. You're just creating this huge dynamic of walkability and an interactive type of situation that nobody else has in any other town. So we need to niche ourselves. We need to find a reason why people are going to want to come here, stay, leave your money. We're okay with that too. You know, whatever you want to do. But we need to be on that same page and on that same vision. And getting that townhouse open is huge. If you have not been inside of that townhouse, oh my God, I'm gonna cry. It's so beautiful. It's lovely. It's such an amazing space that it's been closed since I've been here in town 22, 23 years. Like, I think it closed the year I moved here. I'm almost like, should I move? Because if I move, it will reopen. Maybe it closed because of me. I don't know. But I've been in once. And I've been on this committee for a while. And well, maybe twice now. I think I've been in twice. Just absolutely gorgeous piece of architecture. The acoustics inside are beautiful. The windows are beautiful. There's so much potential downstairs in the bottom half of that building. It's just unreal. I don't know if you guys know, not that I want to tote anything, but I work for Hell Lumber, and they have me do the commercials, so I don't know if anybody heard that. But one of the amazing things that I got to do was I went out to Sturbridge, and they have a little studio. It's just a little tiny spot, and I go in there with Zip from AAF, and we created a little commercial in this little spot. Can you imagine if we had a spot in North Brookfield, in the townhouse, part of our creativity and arts program, where people could rent out a place to go podcast, a place to go, I don't know, play Magic or D&D, a place to be able to do your FaceTime Live, Instagram Live, whatever, like a hub for you to be able to rent out and go in there and use that space. That would be awesome.
Sorry, I did have one other question.
Yeah.
So is the space, the extra space besides like the Grand Town Hall, is that be looking for businesses or like in-town programs? Because one thing that's broken my heart over the last few years is the loss of the youth center in town. And I think a major part of the loss was not having a space.
Yep.
And the 21st Century Grant, I think if we reapplied for it, we would really qualify for it and could get that back if we did have a space for it.
Yep, write that down. What's the name of that?
The 21st Century Grant was the old youth centers grant that we used to have.
So, amazing. How awesome would that be?
I mean, and we have, right now, unfortunately, without that, we have very little to nothing for kids.
And we have plenty at the townhouse is,
It does have space. and
it's
stuff.
so much space inside of there, so much space. There's so many offices. So you see a couple right in the front. There is a whole bunch in the back. There's a whole bunch downstairs. There is an amazing vision that the Friends of the Townhouse have to get this back up and running. And to be able to have constant programming and some.
Pay for the youth theater, a youth theater club. I used to.
Right, exactly. Just, there's so much potential. We just need to be all on the same page and get this going. I know Friends have been working so hard to get this going, and it's cost a lot of money. And let me tell you guys this, the longer we wait and the longer that this takes, I mean, I work in the lumber industry. It's just gonna cost more and more and more money. So I think we're at, can I throw a number out, Jim? What's the number?
It's currently 7.1 million, but it's going to be more than that.
7.1.
The construction documents will be done hopefully beginning of next year.
Yeah.
And then we'll have an accurate number to work with. But
So
right
what I
now-
like to tell people, $7.1 million. Is that a lot of money? It's not a lot of money. To a bajillionaire,
No.
that's a couple bucks in his back pocket, right? To me, working 50 hours a week, that's a little bit of money, you know? But it's all your perspective. So, and I worked at the bank. Money is literally just paper and numbers all over the place. So you're just gonna find somebody who has a whole bunch more numbers than we have, and they're willing to help us, and they're gonna come help us out. So networking, looking for those people, getting people excited about our projects is all about it. I don't have my glasses on. Is that Katie?
Yep.
Yep.
I have a question about, I know we used to have some sort of collaboration with inmates who would come to the work program, and they were helping to do some signing or painting at Townhouse. Is that something that is still going to be?
I think So just so that this is on the video, the question was, there was a program where inmates were coming to kind of help out with some of the physical work that might need to be done. And I think Jim Buzzell's gonna report on that because you know a little bit more about what happened with the townhouse with that.
Right, so they came in and did the scraping and the painting of the North Main Street side of the townhouse. And we had them for that year. We may be able to get them again. Certainly there's other parts of the townhouse that we painted. There's other projects in town that they
Absolutely.
could probably be useful for. So
Great.
it's a possibility. Somebody just needs to reach out.
Does that help, Katie?
Yeah, so that'll save us not $7.1 million.
Well, maybe, it depends. So one thing that happens with the townhouse specifically, and I hate to be talking so much about the townhouse, because I'm downtown, and really it should be you guys, but I know that there is some historical stuff that we have to be careful about when we either hire people or have them work in there to be able to ensure that we keep the history in there. I don't remember exactly, it's on the historical,
It's the tax credits.
it's on,
Yeah,
so we get some tax credits in.
Federal tax credits require that you keep everything historically accurate.
Right. So it's not that it's complicated, we just need to figure it out. And we need to do it all together. So that's kind of where we're at there. So again, just to kind of point you guys over to see where that is online. Oh, I think I'm gonna go backwards here. You want to kind of go through the side over here and you will find the North Brookfield T.A.R.P. if you needed to use that. There's also part of the T.A.R.P., or I think, was the business directory part of LRRP?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's in there too. There is a phenomenal business directory that was created for us as well, that takes you through all the different businesses that are in town. So if you can't find some information, we have it for you too. Which there's so much information on our site and it's all here for you to be able to utilize. So that's what we wanted to kind of jump on first. Let me introduce to you guys Ethan. Momentarily, I got one more thing. I realized I do have one more slide in here for you that I wanted to just jump on real quick. And that I stole this from John Turner from our master plan committee survey. So just as a heads up to everybody too, the master plan is just about complete and you can totally utilize that as well to be able to focus on some grants, beef up your information, ask people for recommendations and letters too, because we will help you out with whatever we can. So what I wanted to do with this slide was just talk to you about the demographics that are in our town and what, just to kind of spur your imagination again, what do we want to do in town? How do we want to change this? Our current realm of houses is that over 50% of them are over 80 years old. So what does that mean? Do we want to focus on, oh, there's some really old crappy houses, or we got some awesome history here where you could, I mean, we just had the Walker House purchased. So the Walker House is right next door to the senior housing over on Mount Pleasant. The McGrails had owned that house, or at least Karen McGrail's mom and dad had owned that house. And they just sold it, and a beautiful person just took it over to restore that whole property. How amazing is that? You know, you never know how that's going to work out. So how beautiful is that to get some of our beautiful houses restored? Who's that demographic that's going to want to do that? Probably not somebody who's my age or higher, because I'm cooked, right? Probably some younger people are going to want to come in and they get excited about the stuff that they can do to recreate that history and bring that in. So keep your eye on what the demographics are, people that we want to kind of bring into town and who's already here. I don't have my glasses on, I can't even see what I'm looking at. The median age of the people who live here right now, 44 years old. And I think that's because I think right now we kind of have a huge gap between our two systems. So median age is 44, but really I think it's beefy with 30-year-olds and beefy with over 60-year-olds. Like, so those are our, you know, demographics. And how are we balancing that to make everybody happy, but bring people together in town? Arts and restoration, huge, guys, huge. This is such a big focus for us in North Brookfield to be able to work on that. So things to be considering when you're thinking about your projects and who you're targeting them to. What are the demographics that are attracting people to North Brookfield? What kind of services do they need? What kind of a lifestyle are they looking for? How do we provide and attract those people to live here in North Brookfield? How do we provide that for just people that we just want to come and we don't want them to stay? But we, you know, maybe we want some people that have some nice money and they want to come see some theater and they've got a lot of money and they want to spend it here, but they don't want to stay here. Maybe we want to keep them. Maybe we don't. I don't know. But those are things to be thinking about. Joey.
Hi, Sheila. There's a lot going on too that's getting cleaned up relatively inexpensively with the transformation that we're taking care of our infrastructure for the highway.
Absolutely. I'm
the fire
so excited about
department
that.
And the EMS. Now, just to get a vision of what I see in that area, I consider Grove Street a second Main Street. Personally, I lived there all my life. What the plan right now is to get the infrastructure of those buildings back up to speed, because we all know over the years our main town hall buildings, all our town buildings, had been depleted by lack of maintenance and financing over the years. So we're trying to get it back up to speed. So we're doing it the best cost-efficient way right now that we can with the purchase of the Hux diesel.
Yep.
So obviously we know we got to do some renovations down there. We're going to restructure the 1800s firehouse into our headquarters. We've got the drawings done. We're going to be coming to the town shortly to do those renovations. And in front of the highway, the old highway building right here on School Street is going to be all cleaned up, because that's going to be where our trucks are going. So if you can picture that side towards the pizza house, nice and cleaned up, the fuel tanks, you know, encased if we keep the tanks up here. There'll be lawn in front of the old firehouse with some angled parking. There's going to be a bell memorial that we took out of the church from Grove Street many, many years ago. I've got it in storage at the school. It's a beautiful bell. It's going to be a firefighter's monument that's going to be planted in front of the fire station, and we'll come out of now with our trucks. So if you can kind of envision that cleaned up and all repaved, that's going to be a nice chunk of town that's going to be cleaned up. But we are going to be coming forward. We got to get this project done because we're under mandates from OSHA and stuff, because we don't meet them with DPW and the fire station. We're living in a station now that, you know, that was horse and buggy days, and somebody's going to get hurt. So this plan here, instead of building the new station, which was going to cost around $14 million across the street behind the police station, we're hoping to get this done around the $6 million realm with the high school coming off. We've got a plan to try to keep very limited tax impact. But what I'm trying to say, it ties into what Sheila's saying. I'm going to be cleaning that all up. If the money gets voted through for the restorations and the highway gets down, you can envision the old fire station with the doors, an entry door in the middle, there's a lobby, 4 offices. So when you look at that building, you'll see lawn, memorial, new pavement, very professional looking yard, not highway stuff. Highway stuff, no matter, and they do a good job keeping it clean, but it's highway stuff. So no matter how you do it, it's tough to keep clean. but when we have it, it's gonna be a whole different ballgame. And on the other side of the street, I just wanna throw this out to you.
Yep.
Now that we're not gonna build out there, and I mentioned to the selectmen, if that place was just simply graded and lawned out, we took a section, if you go across the police station, the pizza house, some folks that live across the street are using that parking. There's a good parking section there, but then there's a section behind that. We just designated that for life flight. Because in the wintertime, we actually have no landing zones for life flight. None at all. So if the school's in play and if they do solar up on the school park, all those things disappear. During the summer, we can land life flight on the pond. But there's a section of that lawn that we just designated with the selectmen, with their permission, for life flight to come in. Now, my feeling is if that whole thing was graded and if you did some parking, maybe along Grove Street, whatever, for the town, you still got a parking section across from Pete's house too. But there's a 100 by 100 foot area that we're gonna be able to land life flight in. But that also could be paved, and you could do outdoor street hockey, anything that's movable. So if life flight comes in, we can get it out of the way.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
open and we can plow it in the wintertime. So if you even envision that, that's a cheap fix for that whole piece of property. To loom it, seed it, and put some parking in, I mean, that's a cheap fix. And if that other section gets done behind Grove Street School, where I went to school, and I worked there for 31 years as housing,
Yeah.
if that section gets remediated, picture a trail coming down through there into this area. There's a lot of younger kids and families don't want to be up the common. I hate to say it, you can clean the common all day long, but behind the police station to have a little recreational area for the kids and things, and it's right behind the police station with cameras, it might be a comfortable place to have picnics and things like that. And it's all surface stuff. It's all cheap stuff to do. It's not a big infrastructure.
Yeah.
And then if you had trails coming down with a nice sidewalk and trees coming down from South Common Street, now you're into that area. You're onto the trail for walking, and and the park is taking off really well down on 67. It's cars there every day now.
Yep.
We've
Yep.
been working on that for years, and we're getting a lot of people with the disc golf. So I kind of envision that whole section, once we get this voted through with the town, to get the big restructures done on those three buildings. And that brings us up to speed too with our infrastructure as far as highway, the fire department finally, and the ambulance. And we've got a new police station already, you've got sewer plants getting rebuilt, the water department's in really mint shape. You guys are working on the town hall. I mean, we're gonna bring the town up to speed in a very nice spot.
Yep. Yep.
And we're gonna do it pretty reasonably cost-wise.
Yep.
So I just kind of threw that out there, what I kind of envision once we clean up that. When I take over those two buildings, I can guarantee it's gonna
I'm
be
excited about that, Joe. I'm really excited about that. I've seen the plans that you laid out for that. Jim?
Yeah, if I could just expand on what Joe said a little bit. So Mass Development and Urban Land Institute put on the T.A.R.P. And they're two organizations that are dedicated to helping towns improve their economy. And they understand the big picture. So not just, we could use this business and that business. It's how it all flows together.
Right.
So they actually talked in their presentation about that area. If we have parking across the street from the highway barn, so attracting, say, families, mothers to come with their children, you got the walking trail right there.
Yep.
They suggested a little building, maybe like an ice cream shop or something. Now, if we've got the fire department looking good across the street, what kid doesn't like to look at fire trucks and
Yep.
things like that? The playground right there. Maybe you put a coffee shop in somewhere so mom can relax with the kids after she's, bandying them about
Yep.
in that area. And it all flows together and works together.
Yeah. So, just to reiterate for anybody who's watching this afterwards too, Joe Holloway is our chief of the fire department, and he just got done telling us about how the fire department area, that they're taking over the highway and how they're kind of redeveloping that, and how we had just purchased Huck's down, what is that? What's it? Down on Donovan Road, so that the highway department can move out of there, and kind of the redevelopment of the downtown area over by the fire department and the police station. And then Jim Buzzell just kind of reiterated on how that would work perfectly with the idea of how we definitely need a little bit more parking and the type of demographic we might want to attract to our downtown, with some moms coming to walk around, or families going to use the trails and the common and the playground. Bill King, you had something?
Yes, I don't know if everybody's aware of Vibrant Corporation, it's a sort of major addition of the factory on School Street. They're going to be changing the other side of the street. So there will be a planning board hearing on April 20th at 7:15 regarding that. The plans are available for review at the town clerk's office. And it's going to be a multi-million-dollar thing, including a two-story elevator. It's all going to be a glass lobby, and it's going to be multi-millions spent in North Brookfield.
It's gonna be nice.
So again, for anybody who's watching this after the fact, Bill King just reported that Vibram is adding a multi-million-dollar addition onto their building on School Street, and it's going to be a glass office area. So that's, I mean, that whole section of the downtown area is going to look really, really sharp. So I'm very excited about that. That's some great stuff. Maureen?
Yeah, just a quick question. In your report, you did mention the recommendation in both reports that they said a town administrator, a town executive, a town, whatever you want to call this person
Yep.
that would oversee what's going on in town, to work with all the boards. Has that been aggressively pursued, or is it just among this group that you're telling us? And what are the plans to aggressively pursue that action? Are there any?
Maureen, that's a great question. So I think that what gets difficult is that sometimes the governance that's already in sometimes has a difficult time with change or with allowing. It seems like that kind of governance can be a little bit nervous about a loss of control. And that seems to be the issue that happens with that type of position. I think that if we think of that position more as a person who is going to come in and be a major help to the current governance that we already have in place, and not as a control issue, that is really going to be the big difference that's going to be helpful. That person that we put in there, again, would be a full-time position and someone who has the time and has a job opportunity to be able to go through and analyze all this, take it all together, and bring it to the governance that we currently have in place. Elizabeth?
And just to follow up to your point, I'm wondering the mechanics of getting that done. In other words, like, multiple reports have recommended that. I think there are many individuals who see that as being a really necessary step. But how do we get that vision and make it a reality? Is it a matter of creating a committee across multiple town boards, like a committee to make this position a reality? Because we can talk about it, it's been recommended for years.
Agreed. It's actually in the master plan. It's been in the master plan since
Right.
2007.
Right. So
It's
how do
still
we
in
make
our
that
master
happen?
plan now, I believe.
Is it a town
The new
vote?
one that's coming out.
Is it a town vote or is it?
I'm gonna be honest with you, I
Okay,
don't know.
just-
I'm gonna throw it out to Chet, but I wanted to say one more thing. I totally lost my train of thought with it. Never mind. Chet, go ahead.
Yeah, FinCom has been talking about this for several years now, and a possible solution is sharing a town manager with a neighboring town. You know, like you said, we're looking
Regionalize
at
it.
$120,000. That's a lot of money. If we could do half of that, we probably could make it work.
So, I mean, that's a consideration. Throw everything on the table, spaghetti on the wall. Let's see what works and what sticks in North Brookfield, because we need some changes in order to make things moving forward and better. Katie.
So the town manager, or whatever term you're using, they would be more of a liaison and grant writing opportunities versus like the final say on things that happen in town. They would still have to go through the board of selectmen.
I think yes, because that's exactly how that works. BOS right now makes all the decisions on everything, but to be able to have someone that's very informed and versed in all the different things that are happening in town, that person's going to be able to bring that information to our current board of selectmen and be able to say, hey, this committee's doing this committee's doing that committee's doing that, this department's doing that, this is the collaboration that would work for that. Can we talk about that? And yes, ultimately the board of selectmen is going to be that's how that works now. Whether or not that's how it's supposed to work, I really don't know, but that's how it works in our town right now. But
I think that's how it works
Those-
in other towns too.
And those, I feel bad for the people who are on the board, because to be able to do full-time jobs and keep up with everything that's happening, that should be a full-time position in our town, so.
I just want to add that I think my understanding of a town administrator too is that they do have some authority over certain decisions that currently the selectmen are making. But I think if you bring in a town administrator, that person can then take over some of those like small day-to-day decisions that the select board is currently making.
So, and then,
Anyway.
I'm gonna go, with the idea that that's true, and that's why we have to be careful with the name of the person and how that would work with the current form
Yeah,
of
it's
governance
different,
that we
and
have. Because a town manager and a town administrator, they serve different purposes, so to get back to Maureen's question, are we aggressively going after this? Kind of. We need to find out exactly what's gonna work in our town to be able to aggressively go get it. So, if we change to town administrator, that actually, I think, is a town governance change. It changes how our governance works. If we hire a town manager who can kind of collaborate everybody, that might work better in our town anyway, because it's a difficult way, it's difficult to change a governance that's in our town. So do we want to aggressively go after that? Yes, but I think we need to be on the same vision and all make sure that we're going after the same thing so that we're on the same page, and then we can go find the money and find that person. I think that would help our town a lot, so. Eva.
Having written the Community One-Stop Grant last year, there are specific names for whoever is in charge. It can be a town planner, it can be a town manager, it can be a town administrator, and the definitions that they have are different for each of those positions.
Exactly,
We have to begin there.
right.
But the reason that the state believes it's a good idea from having written this grant was that that person is not a member of your town, but is educated to do that particular job.
Right,
So they can help you to make the moves that you have to make, that the selectmen certainly have something to say, but they don't have to take on the burden of going out there and doing, it's not an educated guess.
Right,
I mean,
right.
you want this to be somebody who actually has gone to school to learn how to do the job.
yes, yeah. So I want to pull us back a little bit, because I've taken up way more time than I'm supposed to. And I want to introduce Ethan Malad. He's also on the Downtown Development Committee. He has gotten several grants for us. He is just an amazing person in town here and he's on so many boards, and he does so much. And his beautiful wife allows us to utilize him for so many different things in our town. Thank you for his time. He's going to report right now on the LRRP. So I'm gonna let Ethan take over that part, and we're gonna be here afterwards if you guys wanna continue talking, but take notes and let's keep talking, okay? Thank you.
Okay, thank you guys. So this report is pretty heavy. It's like 190 pages, so I'm not by any means going to go through all of it. But it sort of covers a lot of the same stuff that the T.A.R.P did, just a little bit more in depth and broader in terms of the area of town that it talked about and examined. So the basic. All right. So this was supported and funded by Mass Downtown Initiative and Department of Housing and Community Development. It was specifically a COVID response report assistance, and so a lot of the stuff that they talked about had to do with how does a town recover from economic downturns and public health emergencies and things like that. So I'm not going to talk about that. Honestly, North Brookfield actually fared pretty well. We didn't have major economic downturn. We didn't have businesses moving out, which was a good finding from the report. So they did a bunch of a lot of data research, and they did a couple surveys in town as well. So basically, as this says, their primary goal is looking at COVID recovery and how does the town bounce back, and then also how does the town, just in general, grow economically and what demographics are going to help us do that, where are we at now, and how do we move forward. So they looked at these sort of 4 specific points. Who visits North Brookfield? So people from town, residents, and how do they use it? People from out of town, why are they here? Why are they not here? And what would they be looking for that we don't have? The physical environment, so we all know that our sidewalks are not so great, the streets are not so great. And like Sheila mentioned, we are working on the Complete Streets program, which is going to come in and do a whole bunch of sidewalk work and pedestrian enhancements and ADA accessibility and walkability and things like that. So how is the physical environment, sort of how does that impact how people view North Brookfield, and how does it impact how they access and use the businesses that are here? Then there's COVID. And then who is it who's working towards the change in North Brookfield, and how can we, how are we, or how are we not working together on that? So these are their basic summary of their findings. So number 1, even though we've got a lot of great stuff downtown, we've got beautiful buildings, we have a lot of great businesses, they're all sort of disjointed. They're not particularly connected. There's no sort of visual or aesthetic continuity, and the architecture itself is totally varied. And on top of that, then we have the issues with sidewalks and streets where there's, you can't necessarily get from here to there without crossing the street where there's no crosswalk or something like that. So I'll just go through these quick and we'll go back to them. In terms of demographics, they found that most residents here are fairly budget conscious, but a lot of people are really invested and involved in outdoor activities and family activities. And then there's a significant portion that are budget conscious at home, but will also spend a fair amount of money on like the high-end quality things that maybe we don't have accessible in North Brookfield right now, like a high-end coffee shop, like a wine bar or something like that. People will do that when they want to, but we don't have it for them. We do have a lot of small businesses. I don't have the number in front of me. I want to say they found 38 small businesses right in the downtown area. And then we do have multiple large businesses and corporations, which is great. And also sort of surprising in the sort of sleepiness of our town, we do have all this good business. The town is well loved by passionate residents, so Sheila's a great example. There are a lot of people here who are really working really hard to make some change and get things to happen, and for better or worse, the majority are volunteers. And then their last finding, which is right in line with the T.A.R.P, is that the Townhouse is a really pivotal point in the transformation of downtown and is extremely important in sort of bumping along everything else that needs to get done.
Can you speak up just a little bit?
I'm sure. So just a little bit about the demographics and the customer base. Like I mentioned, what they found is they sort of broke it down into these 3 segments. So there's a group that's primarily married couples with no children. Then there's married couples that are older, and then there are younger families with small children. And so these sort of 3 different groups, and the way they broke it down is they found there are close to half of people in town, or customers, this is sort of specifically business-based, are these Green Acres type, who are, cautious spenders, conscientious, but also enjoy the outdoor activities. And as Sheila was mentioning, we've got these great opportunities with the rail trail, and Joey was mentioned the frisbee golf, the town park, and then at the town common. So there's a lot of stuff for these people, these families to access. I think that what Sheila was mentioning, we just need to sort of bring it all together and know that these these areas are usable and people will use them if there's a sort of cohesive vision for how people can access the spaces. They did find that the majority of people going downtown are going downtown for like a specific need, and the majority of that need is the grocery store. So there's a lot more traffic at the Hannaford intersection and at the Hannaford store than there is, uptown, even downtown. And so that sort of indicates that there's not a whole lot right in the center of town that people are specifically visiting. It's really sort of a needs-based traffic. So that's something that we can identify as a change that maybe needs to be worked on. And then in line with the townhouse's sort of mission, the Friends of the Townhouse, looking at arts and cultural opportunities to be expanded in an area like the townhouse is a key project to work on. I'm going to go quickly through this because it's not all that interesting, but yeah, so 38 businesses, 4 vacant storefronts. There's a fair amount of vacant commercial space, 3,500 square feet almost, which is like 10% of the entire downtown commercial space. And so even though there are all these businesses, there's still not a lot of activity, there's not a lot of traffic and interest. So then we get into a little bit with the physical environment, and again, this is something that we're working on with the complete streets to make things more accessible and easily walkable. But at this point, there's sort of like these two separate areas, and it's not cohesive, it's a little disjointed. So we have a lot of stuff. We have great old buildings, we have a lot of businesses, we do have, I know that there are complaints about parking, we have parking, we need more parking, but it's not like it's non-existent. We now have the gas station, we have a big, wide main boulevard, so there's great visibility, but there's sort of a lack of aesthetic interest. It's just kind of there, and there's nothing to sort of spruce it up. So things like lighting, ADA sidewalks, places to sit and gather, trees, things like that can really, make people more interested in sitting and visiting and frequenting downtown. So I put in a couple drawings of the proposed complete streets plan. So at this point, we're looking at the east. Which side is it?
Oh, for what we're doing? We're
Yeah.
just doing the side that runs
The side of the
north, the north side of the street.
The church side.
The church side.
Church side,
The church
yeah.
side, right.
That side.
So
Well, that side runs north, so we consider that the north side, and then the other
East
side
side,
runs
actually.
south.
East side.
East side,
Yeah, east
okay.
side.
yeah. So at this point, what we have will be sidewalk renovation all the way up from
Hannaford.
from Hannaford.
Yep.
Yeah, all the way from Hannaford up to Central Street. So the original plans here include, adding parking, adding, it's a little hard to see, but things like around here, where we've extended out the sidewalk to make a much shorter crosswalk, so it's much easier for people who are either have difficulty walking, for children, for strollers, for whatever, instead of having this giant street that you have to cross and wonder where all the cars are going to come from, whether they're going to come from this way or that way. You can't see anything. And then this is going up towards Central, so there are a couple added crosswalks, and the curving there has been bumped out again to create a shorter walk across the street to avoid any traffic that you can't see. So, based on the these key findings, the report came up with a bunch of recommendations, and then Sheila and I also discussed with the women who were putting the report together about sort of what is it that we think, and then in addition we've got all the survey information. What is it that people in town sort of think is wrong, and what would they like to see, and what are the best ways to bring that all together and make improvements that would sort of cover all our bases. So, again, I'll go through this quickly because they came up with 7 different recommendations. But the first and most important one in their mind was to create a town manager, a town administrator, a town liaison type position. For the same reasons that everybody's all been talking about, is to be able to have some sort of cohesiveness, have one person who's getting paid to think about all the things that have to happen in town, and to think about how they can all work together, and to know and understand how one change might benefit another, how one change might be to the detriment of another, and make sure that we don't have sort of all this crosstalk and miscommunication, and really get a cohesive vision for what could happen. And the great thing about a town administrator also is it's not just downtown. This can expand to housing development in other areas. It can expand to recreation, wherever at the wherever. Second recommendation is to create a tenant recruitment program. So looking at who the consumers in town are and what it is that they might want to purchase. How do we reach out to developers and business owners, and who do we reach out to in order to bring business into town that'll best support the people who are already here? And then obviously also think about, who do we want to bring into town, who's driving through, and what can we bring in to help service those customers. Third, undergo an identity and branding effort. So this could be as simple as signage and wayfinding, fairly small money. So create visually consistent signage in town. Have a sign at the little park at the corner of Main Street in summer that says the rail trail's that way, or the disc golf is that way, things like that. And as long as it's sort of cohesive and continuous throughout all the regions of town, maybe the rail trail has a sign that looks the same as the sign that's in downtown, and they're not two totally different things. So people sort of get a sense that the town has worked to make the whole place, consistent for people who come and visit. This is kind of a big one, but amend the zoning code to allow flexibility in use and to encourage a greater business mix. So they talk about a couple different things, and one of them is using form-based zoning, which talks about how things have to look, and then the other is just sort of, are there changes in the code that we could make that would make businesses more likely to choose North Brookfield for their home base? And how do we do that? I will admit, this is not something I really know much about at all, so that would for sure require some additional help. Channel creative funding sources into private realm improvements. So things like talking to all the business owners downtown, the building owners, the developers, and saying, okay, we want more business in town. How can we sort of make it cohesive? If everyone has the same sort of lighting hanging off their building, or the same sort of street lamps in front of the buildings, standardizing certain elements, sort of bring it all together and make people, when they come to town, say, oh, this is what this town looks like. I understand what they're going for. They're going for a small town. Oh, maybe they're going for this new modern, suburban look. Who knows? But for people to sort of feel like they're at home when they come in, feel like they're welcome, and it's it just feels nice. And then things like beautification, so more greenery, sidewalk improvements, and then they did come up with a couple little renderings, even simple things like they pointed out in here, stringing some lights up across the street, just to sort of bring a little bit of life into a space that's a little bit lacking. And then this also envisioned the same thing that the T.A.R.P was talking about, where you have seating space out in front of Adams Block, in front of the Townhouse. They recommended partnering to bring public art and cultural amenities downtown. So that's can be as simple as offering a mural to an artist, putting out bids for that. It could be bigger. It could be sculpture. It could be events that that utilize artists in the open spaces. And they did point out, like we have there's actually a fair amount of wall space and open space that's usable. Granted, the old auction buildings are not there anymore, but there's the green in front of the church. There are the sides of the buildings, the town offices, and the previous hair mechanics building. There's also, you can't see it on the map here, but the other side of the Summer Street side of the Adams building. And then their last recommendation was to create a low-cost event series, which is something that we have already done, part of at least. But just to sort of keep that going, the Friends are obviously working on that every year. But just to have something that people know will happen and that will bring them in and entertain them and lead them to do other things in town. And then one of the biggest things that this report came up with is a multi-tab, multi-page spreadsheet of a whole lot of funding sources.
Oh, I can pull that up while you're talking.
Oh, yeah.
How's that?
That sounds good. So it's not only for these particular projects, it's not only for downtown development, it's a whole range of public money, private money. Some of it's available now, some of it's not available, some of it might never be available again, who knows. But it's a really massive list of opportunities for virtually any department in town to look at and say, oh, there's an organization that's funding this type of project, or there's a foundation that likes to support this kind of thing. And this
is all up available for you guys online too, which is just unbelievable. These are all kinds of grants and funds that are, and they say they're no longer available. They are available, how much they are, whether they're public or private, how much money that it's for, who's eligible for it. It's extensive. So if you're looking for anything to try to fulfill your project, it's pretty amazing.
It is. It's great.
So,
and the ones that say that they're not available doesn't mean that they won't be available again. It just means that probably the yearly deadline or whatever. So, that's pretty much what I've got. If anybody has any questions.
I have two questions.
Mm-hmm.
One of the concerns a lot of people on social media talk about is the intersection of Summer School and Main Street. What is the complete streets, what is their plan to address that area?
So the design as we have it now, which is subject to change for sure, is that. So it's
is there a way to enlarge that?
So the existing street is here, and the existing school street goes from here to here. So what they've done is they've pulled these sidewalks out to make the crosswalk basically half the size. And I think this is only showing that east side, but I think if I remember right, the plan did the same thing or similar on the south side, but
Yeah.
west side.
We're also working really closely with the engineer, and we're trying to work closely with Jason and the BOS, because one of the biggest concerns that they have is that there are a lot of bump outs on the street. And I know this is getting into details of stuff, but there's a lot of bump outs here. The idea of those bump outs is to create a safety realm for pedestrians, but the difficulty is that can be really hard to plow around, and it might make it a little bit more difficult for the highway department to service those areas. The other concern was we're losing like maybe 1 or 2 parking spots down here, but we're creating a sidewalk and we're bringing in some safety features. So we're working currently with the BOS and the highway department to try to rectify that so that we can for me, number one, putting a sidewalk on that side where the congregational church is in front of the wall, I feel like is a very important piece, because you have to cross back and forth to be able to get to Hannaford. And to be able to have I see a lot of the people up at the senior housing, they walk down that way a lot. To have them only have to cross the street once to be able to get down there.
Kids too.
Yeah, and
Drop it
kids.
off in the bus. Like I know my kids love walking that area, but a lot of times it's too busy this time of day, I don't want you crossing the street.
Right.
It's not safe, so you have to stay on this side of town.
Right, right. So to be able to have sidewalks on both sides of the street, we thought was really important. So we're hoping that that stays in our plan. But the understanding that we might need to reduce some of these bump outs is something that we're gonna have to probably negotiate. So, and that's where we're at, trying to work that through. I'm gonna
So I
go
don't
over
know,
here first.
I think I might be expanding on Sue's question too, but, and it might not be what your particular group is working on, but is there any thought around putting in any safety pieces there, like a sign, like a light, like a stoplight or anything like that? Because
So to be completely honest with you,
I know.
one of the things that we're trying to do is not put a stoplight in town. We are one of the only towns in all of Massachusetts that doesn't have a stoplight at all in town. So what we're trying to do is refocus that area. And actually, Jack's here, or he was here earlier. We've gone to a couple mass development classes to learn traffic calming, and we don't know anything about this. Like, this is not our job. To learn some traffic calming measures, ways to be able to make pedestrians a little bit more safe with these bump outs and stuff like that. So we've been working for 3 years really closely with mass development, with CMRPC, with a lot of different, with our engineer, with Jason Benoit from Highway to try to create these plans because we were asked to create a master plan for these areas specifically. So am I answering your question? I don't know.
And also part of the idea, from my understanding at least, of bumping out the sidewalks, especially at that intersection, is when you make the streets narrower, it
slows traffic
makes
down.
people drive slower.
So the other thought too was that this area too, where we're putting the sidewalk in, one of the concerns I know of the BOS and the highway right now is that gonna get too small? And no, it's not gonna get too small. The idea is that we hired an engineer that knows how to create that kind of space, so we're trusting that they're creating that and that's what they get paid to do.
Right.
So with that being said, I don't know if you guys noticed, but when people come up this hill, you hit that marker and it's already saying, hey, you're going 31. You should be down at 25. Having this space condensing even more than it already is slows those people down so that when they come through that central part of the downtown area, they're not just flying through. And one of the other concerns that we had, I know I'm kind of getting off topic with just being general, was that we've got a lot of like sideways parking in here, I forget what it's called. And we don't want to get rid of that, because if we turn all the parking to be horizontal, we lose a ton of spaces. The difficulty in that is that to get out of that space, you have to back up, and that's a little bit dangerous.
Well, and even coming out of both of those two streets, the School Street and Summer Street, it cuts back on visibility.
You're absolutely right.
To see around those.
A huge concern for us too when we were talking about these plans. And this section is pre-planned out as well. This section that you see right now is phase 1 because that Complete Streets is only paying for different phases. I'll be honest with you, I think the highway department right now gets $390,000 a year for their entire budget for the year. We just got $390,000 for just that side of the street to be able to do that. So that gives you guys a little bit of an idea of how much things cost and where we're at. So to be able to do the whole project, we're talking it's probably gonna be $1.5 million to be able to get that all done, which we've divided it up into about 3 phases to try to get as much funds as we possibly can to be able to afford this and get it done for the town without hitting taxpayers for this kind of stuff. Chet.
Yeah, either eliminate the bump outs or shrink them. If you made them half the size, they might serve the purpose and not be such a traffic hazard. And while you're at it, at the main intersection there, put in a traffic circle, no lights, put a traffic circle in.
We did talk about
Many
that too.
towns are putting them in, they're getting very popular, they're very safe, they move traffic along very nicely. You don't have to look to the right, you just look to the left when you go on them. It's a very
I think we
convenient
talked to
place.
Bill about that too, and I don't think we have the space to get
We'll
the
make
circle
space.
in there.
We'll make space.
We talked about putting a median in there too, so people have a spot to stop to cross. We've talked a lot about a lot of stuff. I don't want to get too off topic though and focus just on complete streets. It's a very exciting part of what we're doing in town. Am I,
No, I'm
want me to let you back in?
No, I'm all
Okay,
set.
all right.
Unless there are more questions specifically to.
Sue.
Well, with the Complete
Yeah,
Streets,
just say-
when is this going to begin?
Yep.
Because it's pretty
So technically, we had already put in plans and we should have already put out to bid. I'm sorry. So Sue was asking when Complete Streets, when this
Timeline.
project's gonna start. So it literally should have already started. And we're at the tail end of the planning part. We're just finalizing some of the plans with the BOS and highway, which probably should have been done in February, which technically our side was done in February, but they have some contingencies that they wanna iron out prior to putting out to bid. So we would have already put out to bid now, and we would have already probably hired someone to start digging in April, May. So we're a little bit behind the schedule that we originally thought we were gonna have. So to answer your question, hopefully we're gonna be either breaking ground by fall or prior to fall and be done by fall. And if not, then it might get bumped to next spring. So, but we are like kind of done with our part and moving it on to be like, this is happening. We have the money, we have the funds, we just need to finalize these plans. So it's a done deal. You're getting your sidewalks. Woohoo!
Finalize the
Yay!
plans.
It sounds like
Finalize the
BOS and highway are gonna be the ones that are gonna end up finalizing the plans. So,
When we want it done, we just email them.
sure, you can email them all day long. Absolutely, absolutely. So with that being said, the point of this whole entire thing was to let you guys know that these reports are available for you. Please utilize them. There is tons of information on our site. Master plan's almost done. That's gonna be something you can use. I'm sure you guys have loads of projects in your mind that are happening. Things that I get excited about is rebranding. I don't know if you guys have been through Where. Where has all their little signs up that's like, where's where? How's where? What's where?
Yeah.
North Brookfield needs a little motto. We need some branding. Anybody want to get excited about that? Let's get excited about that and make that a thing, okay? Make that a thing that we're going to have a little contest. We're going to figure out our brand. That'll help to unify us a little bit. I think that's so fun and so easy, and that's a thing that we can do, right? That branding and motto and creation will help us move forward with what are our signs going to look like? What's our font going to be? So we can utilize the signage and get that going too, right? One of the other things that we talked about that I really want to see happen is an artistic event that happens in our town. So to try to tie together the townhouse and all the art that we want to bring into our town, and art can be so many things. Art is, I mean, my son gets mad because he's an engineer that it's gone from STEM to STEAM, but I love it because I love art too, right? So art can be anything. Art is not just drawing and pictures, it's math, it's creativity in any environment that you're in. Something I would love to see, and I've thrown this out a couple times, we have our May Festival, which this year I'm so excited, it's an almost May Festival. I wish we had that every year. I think that name is so adorable, right? And we also have had the drive-in theater that we just created this past year, which we would like to see more of that happen. So if somebody wants to take over that grant and keep that going for fall and springtime, that would be really fun. Or summertime drive-in theaters, right? That we had over here. I want to see something big. So West Brookfield has a White Christmas, and they also have the Asparagus Festival, and people go to that, right? Some of the other towns, like East Brookfield, has their concerts on the Common all summer long, and they have their big fireworks 4th of July thing, right? What's North Brookfield got that's it's like our thing? So I know that the Apple Orchard does something, but that's not North Brookfield. So what's North Brookfield's thing? One idea I had, and it was just an idea, we don't have to go forward with it, was what about doing a sidewalk chalk event where we block off the entire street in front of the townhouse to be able to bring people into the thought of the townhouse, and everybody can order a slot on the street and you create your sidewalk chalk. Maybe we also have, I got a guy I follow on TikTok, he creates all these little things all around town. You could have a scavenger hunt to go find these little chalk things all around town during that time too. It attracts people to downtown, it attracts people to the townhouse, it brings art. It might not be that thing. I just bought some roller skates. We could have a roller skating event. Who knows? Just we need a thing. And part of that umbrella and that motto and that unity is going to bring in an event that's going to be like, that's North Brookfield's event. It happens every single year. I want to go. It could be chili and beer. I don't know. Whatever it is, let's find what makes us passionate and go get that thing. And I think that we just all need to do that together. So if anybody has any ideas, written stuff down on your paper, take a picture of your paper, because you know it's gonna end up in the trash. So you have it on your Google photo somewhere at some point in your life, and you go, oh yeah, I had that idea that I got when we went to the T.A.R.P meeting. I'm available, I wanna say anytime, but please text me. I get text way better than I get phone calls. I will definitely be there to answer any questions and help anybody out as much as I possibly can. I know Ethan's that too, but make sure that you don't interrupt Elizabeth too much, because she needs her husband once in a while too. My husband's used to not having me around, so that's okay. And I'm sure friends of the Townhouse would love to have some help and some people on their team to help them out too. So any committees that you're interested in, that you want to join and you want to get passionate about, please do that in North Brookfield. We want to just make this so much fun, and it's already fun, but right now it feels like a lot of work. We would just want to have more people on board. More hands makes less work. So let's get more hands on board.
So,
Joe.
years ago, we had the block party downtown, which was nice. We shut off Main Street. It was just food vendors, music. It was
Yeah,
simple setup.
exactly. Yeah,
They were doing donations at the time for the Townhouse.
right.
That's
Food trucks. I mean, we could bring in food trucks. Like, I don't know.
That was an easy event to
Yeah.
set up.
Easy stuff. So the last thing I want to leave you guys with is there are a lot of grants on here. And I know I said that G word a lot during this whole entire event. And it doesn't just take money. I mean, I've watched Joe. He's gotten so many people down to the town park, and it didn't take any grant money, maybe a little bit. But it was hands-on. It was people coming down, grabbing a rake, doing a thing. So if you've got any kind of events that you can, or projects that you can work on that don't take a lot of funds, but you need a lot of people, you know, we're here. We're all here. And we can find more friends. We can find more people. And we're going to get out there and we can do this stuff physically as well and get stuff done. It's not just money. It's about our passion and our power to be able to get this stuff done. So that's kind of what I want to leave you with. If anybody's got anything else that they want to talk about, open for discussion. But other than that, that's about all we have today.
Yeah, Sheila,
So,
Just-
yeah.
Just want to mention the rail trail. It's walkable, but it's not done. You know,
Yes.
we
So
still
it's
have-
not legal.
No,
I
it's
think.
legal. It's walkable. It's not done. There's still work we're doing on it.
Okay.
So you know, there's servicing to
cautious.
do. There's some signage to do.
Yep.
I don't know. Everybody knows it actually goes to East Brookfield to the Quabog River,
Yeah.
and there's a historic bridge there that hopefully some year we'll be able to redo.
Restore?
It needs
Nice.
to be redecked, but that's a big project. And there's that Blue Trails group that does use that section to get down to the Quabog River there. And part of our vision has always been to connect it going back of the Aztec property, connecting to South Common Street,
Yep.
and then connect by sidewalk to the senior center and the Common.
Yep.
So that's kind of
Part of
there's
the vision.
still more to do. So
Yep.
these
Awesome.
days it's done. It's not done. It's still a work in progress.
I
Parking.
shouldn't have said it was done.
Parking areas, working on parking areas and
Yep.
stuff. So.
Awesome.
And also, people don't know, it connects to our new section of town forest down there off Brickyard Road, which, off the trail,
That I didn't realize. So this is why we need the map.
which
So everybody can see where all these trails go and that
which
they
is
connect to each
which
other.
is was able to be acquired at no cost to the town.
That's awesome.
So that's about the same size as Windemith, which that
Beautiful.
was quite expensive. But
Yeah.
so it's still a work in progress, but it's usable. So enjoy it, and
Can I ask
check
a
out-
raise of
check
hands
out-
who's been on the rail trail or who's been on our trails in town? Awesome.
check out the
So
new
beautiful.
town forest too, because we did clear out trails through there, and there's fields in there, and it goes actually
It connects over to Wondermith too.
no.
The town
Brickyard,
forest.
Brickyard Road, the new town forest we just acquired a couple years ago.
Oh, okay.
It borders on Wellcott Mill Pond, the historical mill
Oh, down
pond
the other end. I
down
got you.
East Brookfield. So and you
Awesome.
can actually see the backside of the old mill dam from there too. So it's really a great piece of property.
Fantastic. Good. So everything's working
Sheila.
forward for new stuff.
Sheila,
Yes.
you wanted to mention that. So you just-
Oh, Ian, did you want to mention some stuff?
Yes.
Come on and mention. So if you don't know Ian is from the CMRPC. We've worked with him on several projects. He's an amazing, amazing guy. We're very excited to have him here today.
Thank
You
you.
wanted to make some mention on some stuff.
Yes.
Okay.
So, hi everybody. Ian McAwee. I'm a planner at the Central Massachusetts Regional Planning Commission, or CMRPC. We are a regional planning agency, one of 13 in the state. We cover the city of Worcester and 39 surrounding communities, including North Brookfield. And I just wanted to bring to your attention a couple of grants that the town has been fortunate enough to receive that I have been working on with the town. They are through this program called the Community Development Block Grant, or CDBG. CDBG, for those who don't know, these are funds that are from the Federal Office of Housing and Urban Development that is distributed to towns in Massachusetts through the Massachusetts Department of Housing and Community Development, DHCD. And what these funds do is help the town with a number of services, infrastructure, development type programs and projects in town. And currently the town has received three CDBG grants. The FY19 grant we are currently wrapping up, that did two projects. One was to develop an infrastructure plan for the West Side neighborhood, which is sort of the collection of streets and houses to the west of Main Street, sort of in the downtown area, from Bell Street and Mount Pleasant all the way down to Spring Street, I want to say is the furthest south that we went. Part of the FY20 grant, which is currently, and as well as doing some housing rehabilitation projects in town for housing rehab. So, bringing houses up to code for eligible families, doing sorts of work like that. The ongoing FY20 grant is doing more housing rehab, as well as a project that we are currently finishing the design for, and hopefully will be going for construction this summer, which is improvements to the senior center. So we are going to be replacing the roof, replacing all of the ceiling tiles to get rid of all of the mold and anything that might be developed out there, as well as replacing the entire floor within the main area to be one level, one material, no tripping hazard that you might get along right here, where it goes from the carpet to the hardwood and the tile. So that's a project that's going to be ongoing. Hopefully will be completed this summer. We're trying to get go out to bid to get a contractor here in the spring. We are working with an engineer, with an architect right now. And then the FY21 grant that the town just received, which the town will be going under the contracting with the state, and then we'll be setting up contracting there to get going in the spring, which is actually the first phase of an infrastructure project on the west side, in the West Side neighborhood, which is going to be along the entirety of Mount Pleasant Street. We are going to be upgrading, for the first phase this year, is going to be upgrading the water system and the water lines along Mount Pleasant Street, as well as design of the entire project, so that in a future grant, we can apply for funds to do phase 2, which will be sewer, roads, sidewalks, and just completely redoing the entirety of Mount Pleasant Street to make it more pedestrian friendly, better drainage, better gradients, updated infrastructure, utilities, all sorts of things. But this plan really lays out probably 10 years worth of projects in the West Side neighborhood just on infrastructure. So that's really sort of an ongoing thing that the town has with this CDBG program that that CMRPC is helping to administer. And it's a really great opportunity, and I really want to thank the Board of Selectmen, everybody at town, all of the water department, highway, sewer departments for their help in trying to make these projects a reality, and just to everybody in town for their continued support and in allowing the town to pursue these funds, because it's a lot of money that comes into the town. We're talking $800,000 grants that can really go a long way in providing a lot of great upgrades to sort of in the residential areas around town, both in the downtown area and the wider. And if you want to know of a previous grant that was completed using these CDBG funds, North Common Street all the work that was done there to sort of repave it, add that little bit of parking along the common. That was all done using the CDBG grants from, I believe, an FY16 or FY17 grant. So that's the kind of infrastructure improvements that we're looking to do around Mount Pleasant Street, but obviously it'll be very, it'll be tailored, but that's just sort of the type of work that this program does. And I think it really feeds well into a lot of the conversations that you're having today is, how do we make these large scale improvements happen in town? What's a couple of grant opportunities? And I'll just finish with, if you have any projects that you don't think that your committee might have the capacity to do, or there might not be capacity in town, but it's a planning or development type project, and if you want some help with it, come to CMRPC, talk to us. Either if we have the capacity and we have the ability to help the town with, we will gladly do it. We love working with North Brookfield. And if we don't have the capacity, we can definitely connect you with people that do. We have lots of contacts in a lot of organizations throughout the state. And we'll do anything we can to help the town. So if you have a project in mind, speak to me afterwards, or reach out to Sheila. She can connect you with myself or a number of people. Or you can talk to Ethan, who is the newest member of Central Mass Regional Planning Commission. So he can definitely be sort of your. Sorry. Okay. Too late a little bit. So yeah, definitely talk to us. We can definitely help you really achieve whatever projects you want to do here. So thank you for your time, and I will pass it back off to Sheila.
Sure. You never have problem talking. So just about 11 o'clock, guys. I think we did a good job. I thank you all so much for coming, Eva.
Ed, I know that there are a lot of people who are running for offices in here, but I have no idea who they are.
Well, we're gonna do that after we're done with the presentation on the camera, and then we'll totally let them talk as much as they want you today, okay? So we'll wrap that up for our presentation for the T.A.R.P. Please let me know if you need, do I have my last little slide in here is just like a thank you to everybody. Oh, real quick. I know this is, and I'm gonna go quick with this. One of the things that we're downtown development. We established 5 strategic goals that we want to be able to hit, and that was back in 2019. So we have a little bit of updating to do. Walkable downtown, we're already working with Complete Streets. We got that 400 in. We're so excited about the first phase of that. We want to do this connected trail system. We're really looking to revitalize the Townhouse. Working on downtown development and business investment in our downtown area. So that's kind of North Brookfield's downtown development in a nutshell. We're really excited to move forward. We're trying to check off boxes as we go. I cannot wait to put on a hard hat and get that first shovel in the ground, get that sidewalk going. So thank you guys all so much for coming today and all your volunteers.